What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today, issue number 2 of the 0 Point comic dropped, and we're going to recap it right now in this video. Let's get into it. All right, the comic starts off with everybody trying to figure out what they're going to do. This includes the Imagined, Spidey, Wolverine, Jonesy, Scientist, Foundation, Iron Man, Storm, and Thor. So if you remember the last comic, the last issue, if you haven't seen that video, go check it out somewhere over here. They decided to split into 2 groups. The Foundation, Scientists, Iron Man, Storm, and Thor were going to head to the Ice Moon. And the Imagined, Spider-Man, Wolverine, and Jonesy were going to go and look for the 0 Point fragments, right? To, gather all of them up to help reboot the mech, to try to make it easier to bring the mech back to life and be ready for whatever Dr. Sloan had planned for the attack, right? It starts off with the Imagined, Spider-Man, Wolverine, and Jonesy heading to Wakanda in search for the 0 Point fragment. So they get there, and obviously they are greeted by the Wakanda soldiers, guards, I guess, and they start fighting because obviously the guards don't know who they are, so they're going to attack anyone who's on site, strangers that they don't know. So they start attacking, they're fighting, and finally the princess of Wakanda comes up and they're like, hey, hold fire, stop fighting. I know these people, but there's a few here that I don't know, so I'm gonna need Spidey over here to, explain who these people are before I kill them. So Spider-Man tries to explain what's going on, and very quickly and stressed about it, right? He's like, hey, these people are from a different universe and there's a war and we need help. And yeah, she's like, I really don't understand, but okay. Wolverine chimes in and he's like, hey, if we can go somewhere where there's not bugs flying around and hit me in the face, then I can explain everything in words that actually make sense. So the princess is like, okay, that's fine. I know just the place. And they take them to this underground passageway in Wakanda, right? And they're there and they're talking about everything that's going on in the Looper universe, right? In Universe 0. Multiverse 0, whatever they call it, right? The place where the island is. And once again, Wolverine chimes up and he's like, hey, the fragment disappeared. The fragment was here, but the odor of it is very distant now. It was here, I can smell it, but it's fading, right? He's like, I can also smell lizards though, which is kind of strange. Well, the princess chimes in and is like, well, this underground passage is kind of close to the Serpent Valley, and even though our alarms won't set off anything if it's too small, there is that possibility of lizards, being able to sneak in here or whatever, So the princess and the team head out towards the Serpent Valley, right? And as they start moseying on into Serpent Valley, Wolverine starts smelling the fragment a bit closer, and he's also like, there's a camp ahead where the smell is coming from, and the camp smells kind of occupied. And sure enough, right at that point, they get absolutely, ambushed by the people occupying the camps, which turns out to be hybrids. And yes, I am talking about the skin hybrid from Fortnite that we got way back in chapter 1. If you don't remember, it's the reptile ninja skin. So they get ambushed by them, and of course they take them out, and Wolverine sees one running away and he starts smelling the fragment growing further away, right? So he's like, we got to stop that one that's running away. Spider-Man, of course, jumps to action because he can swing from webs and stuff, and he goes towards it and he notices that hybrid has a bomb. He starts to swing back. As the bomb explodes, everything is demolished, and you guessed it, the smell of the fragment has now disappeared. Wolverine can still smell it, but it's starting to make its way off in the distance, right? So after that, we cut over to the Foundation, Scientists, Thor, Storm, Iron Man, all those people heading towards the Ice Moon. Storm and Thor are doing their best at trying to control the weather and make it more optimal for the Foundation and the scientists to land the ship and actually be able to explore to try to find the mech. Because as we know, conditions up there with the hurricanes and the cold weather and everything was just too much for anybody to survive. So they had to do something about that. And that's why they have Storm and Iron Man, or Storm and Thor, because they can control the weather. They made it enough so that the Scientist, Foundation, Iron Man can land the ship, and they start looking around trying to find the mech, and they find it. Iron Man's like, this right here wouldn't be the mech that we're looking for, right? Sure enough, yes, it is. It's the only big giant piece of metal mech looking thing on this entire planet. Iron Man, like, what do you mean? So they start investigating. They're like, okay, the mech is missing an arm, which is okay, I guess. Not too bad. There's a few puncture wounds on the mech as well, which, you know, not too bad. It could have been in much worse condition given the circumstances of it being on this moon in the first place. But they're kind of worried about the power source, right? Is the power source okay? Because if it is, then they should be able to rebuild it in no time. So they start looking for the power source and Paradigm, of course, because if Paradigm is dead, then her armor should have a database of how the mech works and a whole like blueprint of the mech. So half the team's looking for the power supply, whether or not it's damaged, the other half's looking for Paradigm. Well, the Foundation finds Paradigm and she is unconscious inside the cockpit of the mech still, and that's where the comic ends. So overall, I don't really know where this falls into the timeline, because technically there's still chapter 2 season 4, but they're already heading to the moon in preparation of the war happening in chapter 3. So I don't know if this is like closer to the end of chapter 2 that they went to the moon to try to rescue Paradigm, or if it's like beginning of chapter 2. I'm kind of confused on the timeline here. But whatever the case may be, we should figure out more come issue 3. That's all I got for you today, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe, and you might also enjoy this video up on screen as well. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.